Morning, guys.
Hey, hey, hey.
That was a rough one, Carl.
Yeah, it was. It was pretty rough toward the end there.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you kind of figured it out.
Yeah, so we, what did we just do? We did 20 sets of a 500-meter Bike Erg, incrementally paced. So every 4 sets, pace had to get a little bit faster. So that's all these numbers you guys can see up here on the whiteboard. Rest was 1-to-1-ish, so Carl rested while I worked. I rested while he worked. I think he got an advantage because he got a slightly longer rest because my sets were slightly slower.
Or she got an advantage because I just went faster.
That might be it too.
I don't know.
That might be it. What's the point of incremental pacing?
Oh man, there's a lot of points in incremental pacing. I think when we look at, let's start at the high end, the high spectrum. I'm thinking about older people as we wrap up this online qualifier.
Yes.
Just, working with a couple of those guys and girls, and incremental sets are great in training for older population because it gets them going. Right?
Okay.
It's like, think about how you felt on the first 4 sets here versus this set here. Like this set, we felt like we were in much more of a groove. We found our paces a lot quicker, and it was just like you just kind of found that flow, right? Incremental sets allow us to do that, to find that flow without like this big warm up that has nothing to do with the work that we're doing. So just think about like trying to give someone a really good warm up for specific work. You try to like match patterns, you try to match like, okay, what can limiters be? I want to expose them, but doing the actual thing is the best way to get warmed up for something. So, just attacking something incrementally kind of gets those enzymes going, and you get in that flow a lot quicker. So that's for older populations. And then, I don't know, am I considered an older population?
I don't know if you're there
Ish,
yet.
right? Almost, but
You're on the threshold of older population.
yeah, no, but I like them for everyone else because you learn pacing and what pacing means and what it looks like and how different variables affect your pace. There's a lot of learning that goes inside of it. So it's a powerful thing to give someone, 20 sets at incremental pacing and not tell them, hey, I want first set to be this pace exactly, and for them to have to sit down and kind of think about it. Kind of the experiment you and I went through before we started. We thought about, okay, what paces are we going to start at as we navigate our way through 20 sets? So it gives people the ability to really think about, what their capabilities are relative to the work that they're doing.
Yeah, we sat there with the whiteboard up, trying to predict what we were going to do.
Yeah.
And I think I could have done that better on the row or the assault bike, but I just haven't had as much exposure on the Bike Erg, so it was harder to know, like, 15 sets into this thing, how am I going to feel?
Yeah, that's a good point. I was going to actually mention the same thing because, if I get on an assault bike or a rower or even a skier, it gets like 5+ years on each one of those and experience. The rower, it's like 10 to 15 years of experience, but you get on something like you guys can't see this. There's a Bike Erg here. You get on something like the Bike Erg, and even if you've been using it in training for a good amount of time, if you don't have a lot of exposure to it, it's really difficult to understand, how hard or not do I push with my right and left leg to get this pace to change by 1 second. So I jumped a lot between, like, let's say I wanted to hold like 142. I jumped a lot between 141 and 143.
Yeah.
And it was really difficult for me to find 142 and stay there just because there's a lot of inputs on this thing. So you're looking at like RPM, you're looking at your pace, and the RPM can stay the same and your pace can change by almost 2 seconds with the RPM being the same because there's ranges within that RPM. So it was fun to navigate, and I would agree. I just don't have enough exposure to this thing to be able to jump on, get there, and hold it the entire time.
It was a great test as well because there's no hiding. Like on the assault bike, you can go a little faster with your arms. The row, you can pull more arms or more leg. On this thing here that I'm pointing to in the corner, your quads just go. And you can't come back from that. You have no choice. I was like, how do I use my glutes more to push the pedals?
Yeah.
But
there's some good stuff you can do. I don't know if you noticed me kind of like leaning forward a little bit and then kind of bringing it up a little bit. You'll notice if you lean forward on this thing, it really biases the anterior quad. And then if you kind of lean, if you're in more of an upright position, it gets more like the medial or like the meaty part of your quad. So you can actually adjust this thing a little bit, and cyclists do that.
Yeah.
You know, when you see a cyclist, you know, go from this to here outside of like opening lungs and just biasing just the quads specifically, you can actually mess around on this thing and work different parts of your quads. And then sorry, the last thing I was going to mention in like benefits of incremental pacing for competitors, that's how competitors should approach competitive work.
Yeah.
They should approach it incrementally instead of like, you know, coming out and then just like fizzling and dying 3/4 of the way through. You kind of, I don't know if you've heard of the saying, like you want to attack 80% of your workout at 80%, and then the last 20%, you want to start to ramp it up and try to hold on without hitting threshold with too much time remaining or work remaining. That's incremental pacing.
I mentioned this going into it, but I'm working on getting uncomfortable breathing, like just knowing that my heart rate is up and I'm breathing hard, but it's okay and I can stay there. And this was a really good opportunity to feel that out, and kind of like you said, with an older population, warm up into it. So it's not like, you know, all of a sudden go panic mode. It gives your body an ability to adjust to it as you go.
I think there's a huge difference between warming up for work and being appropriately primed for work. It's very difficult to get appropriately primed for work without doing that work specifically the exact way that you're going to do it. So that's a good example of that. It's like you felt it, there was probably like a moment of like, and then you probably settled in and got okay with it. But you know, there's different methods as well, right? Like we did an incremental interval method. We could also go like an incremental straight method. So this would have been a much different experience if we said, okay, 2 Bike Ergs, we're both setting the clock for 30 minutes and we have to get faster every 5 minutes without ever getting off and letting the quads breathe, quote unquote, right? So it gets a nuance. There's a lot of different things and variables inside of it. And
when you start putting other modalities inside of there as well, we stuck cyclical, which I appreciate. Some elbow stuff going on, but
Georgia got beat up last week. And jiu-jitsu.
Got attacked by a crazy white belt, as it goes.
It's like white person. I was like, whoa, Georgia.
Also a white person, but no, a white belt. A little bit of white belt fury. Cranked on the elbow.
So this is a piece that anyone can hit. Anyone can jump on a Bike Erg and, you know, hit intervals and get faster within those intervals. And it's a fun thing to experiment with, even with your clients. It's like give work like this, if it's appropriate for them, to your clients, and don't give them any direction. Just say, hey, I want you to get faster every set or every X amount of sets. And when they ask you, where should I start? Just say, hey, go in and figure it out. Let's talk about it after you approach it. Some good learning can happen when you crash and burn in the first few sets there.
Definitely. Well, guys, grab a Bike Erg, grab an assault bike, grab a rower, whatever you have available. Give some incremental sets a try and let us know how you go.
Have fun.
Have fun.
See you guys.